Sean Diddy Combs' former girlfriend was back on the stand on day 19 of his sex trafficking trial. She told the jury how shocked she was to find out about Cassie Ventura's lawsuit against Diddy. Here are the highlights from that testimony.
What happened during that conversation?
In this conversation, I remember voicing my frustrations and my pain and my agony about the most recent hotel night and how I wasn't okay and I wasn't feeling good. And he responds by saying, okay, cool, what do you need? Another 3 months in the house because I'm not going to be paying for somebody that I'm not even seeing as to how I get down, something like that.
And how did you respond when Sean said that?
I was livid. I felt like, what does the house have to do with what I'm saying, and why, when I'm in this dark moment, that you just completely flip it to the house and not listening to where my pain is lying?
So what did you tell Sean?
Are you referencing...
During your conversation before Sean texted you, you threatened me?
My reference to his past 2 ex-girlfriends. And I said, I'm not them.
What did you say specifically?
I said, I'm not Gina or Cassie.
Why did you bring up Gina and Cassie?
At the time, I felt that these 2 women had quietly left that relationship. And in the heat of the moment, I'm telling him that I feel really violated and I've been pushed to the edge. And I don't know what exactly I meant in that moment, but I'm just standing up for myself at that point.
In essence, were you telling him that you were going to speak out about what you'd experienced in your relationship?
Objection.
Sustained.
In essence, what were you telling Sean?
Just like, don't play with me, because in essence, the energy was just like anger.
Objection.
Sustained. The jury should disregard the witness's last answer. Ms. Comey, let's move on.
Jane, can you please read the next messages you sent on the right?
I said, you haven't stopped threatening me over the livelihood of me and my child.
And then, do you reference your child after that?
I do.
Okay. And then, can you read the next text?
I said, go take your meds and watch the rest of the you say to me. You got me up.
Let's go to pages 6 and 7, please. What did you say next?
I said, you and your fake apology.
What were you referring to when you said your fake apology?
I was referring to him introducing the conversation. Like he was so empathetic about how I was feeling and that I was feeling down about that night. And then he slides in. Well, if you need 3 more months in the house, let me know because I'm not about to pay for you.
How did he respond in this text?
He said, all good.
After Sean's birthday, what, if any, trips do you remember Sean taking in November of 2023?
He went to London.
And after Sean went to London, what do you remember happening a little later in November of 2023?
I remember that's when Cassie's lawsuit came out.
How did you first learn about Cassie's lawsuit?
It was all over. It was all over the place. It was on Instagram, social media, internet.
How did you react to seeing news coverage and social media posts about Cassie's lawsuit?
I almost fainted. In fact, I think I did.
Why?
Because there was 3 specific pages that was just a harrowing resemblance to what I was experiencing.
You said 3 specific pages. Jane, after seeing news about Cassie's lawsuit, did you actually read her complaint?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember how long it was?
35 pages.
Objection.
Is there an objection?
Objection.
That's overruled.
Do you remember how long it was, Jane?
35 pages.
You said there were 3 pages. When you said there were 3 pages, what were you referring to in your earlier answer? Without telling us the text of those pages, please.
I just remembered that these pages just resembled my own experience.
And were those 3 pages in Cassie's complaint?
Yes.
Did you screenshot those pages?
Yes.
Why?
Because I was bewildered. I was just in shock.
Had you hired a lawyer?
No.
Had you sent a demand letter?
No.
So whose idea was it to talk money?
Sean.
Let's see how Sean responded. What did he say?
you.
Look at the next page. What did he say next?
He said, don't ever text me again.
What did you write in response?
I said, you made me lose out on everything.
And what did he say next?
He said, you're a liar. You. I'm blocking you. Leave me alone, baby girl. You're a liar. Opportunist. You. I'm call the police. You trying to make up some I'm clear.
Let's go to pages 14 and 15, please. What did you do? What did you send to Sean after he sent you those texts?
I said, you are the only opportunist here. You exploited the out of me. You win 3 years of being used, and you had 3 years of fun with my body. I said, you broke me. Our situation has never, ever been fair to me. You asked me what I needed to move on, and now you're upset. I said, you were a full-time job, and you consumed my life. I got nothing out of this for 3 years but demons and heartbreak. You exploited my love and made me think this was love so I could give you these fetish nights.
Let's jump now, please, to pages 21 and 22. Is this a continuation of the same conversation, Jane?
Yes?
What did Sean say at the top of the page?
He says, so leave me alone, I'm blocking this number, and I'm calling police.
What did you say in response?
I said, you used me for your parties.
How did Sean respond?
He said, God bless you.
What did you say?
I said, and I was too stupid.
Let's go to the next page, please. What did Sean say next?
He said, leave me alone, con artist.
What did you say in response?
I said, you keep describing yourself. You cornered me into for you and letting strangers run on me.
Read what you wrote to KK on December 28, 2023.
I said, hey, I know, I would normally not involve you in anything, but he just threatened me about my sex tapes that he has of me on 2 phones. He said that he would expose me and send them to my child's father. He has been bothering me for 2 months after all I've been asking for is my space. I keep telling him that I just need some time with God and that I need time to move on from him. We broke up 2 weeks before the controversy for a lot of things stated in that lawsuit that I personally felt in my experience with him. When hit the fan, I had already entered into my own depression caused by him. He knew that, and all I asked for was my space and quiet time. I'm traumatized from my experience with him, and I'm just privately healing, and he keeps bothering me. He invites me to fly me out, and I politely decline each time. Today, he went from asking me who I'm seeing over and over again and saying he feels abandoned by me, how I've hurt him, and when I reiterate all the trauma he's caused me and how mistreated I feel. He says I'm blackmailing him and then started yelling and going crazy and saying charge him so we can both move on.
Jane, who was the he you were writing about throughout this text message?
Sean.
What were your recapping for KK in this message?
I was recapping our really violent argument.
Is that the argument we were just talking about from December of 2023?
Yes.
Can we go to the next message, please? What's the next thing you send to KK?
I said, and after I did what he asked me to do, came up with a number for everything he's put me through. Now he is threatening me and saying he would call the police and expose my tapes and send them to my child's father and all of these evil-ass bipolar psychotic episodes he's having on me. Mind you, these are sex tapes where I'm heavily drugged and doing things that he asked of me for the past 3 years that I am currently recovering from. It's all so extremely hurtful, very hurtful. For him to exploit me all this time and then threaten me with sex tapes. Please talk some sense into him because this isn't fair to me at all whatsoever. I'm beyond hurt by him.
How did KK respond?
She said, hey there, about to read all this and then call you in a bit. I really haven't seen or spoken to him in 2 days, though.
What did you write in response?
I said, I'm sure we're both emotionally drained right now. It's okay, no need to call. I'm just really stressed with him saying he would expose my sex tapes. I just sincerely want him to give me my space and quiet time. I'm not bothering him at all for anything at all. You are his right-hand woman and woman to woman. Maybe if you hear my side, you can just simmer him down because he listens to you. It's okay. Enjoy your night. I'm drained. Been crying all day. I'm fine. Thank you, KK.
Can we please go to page 3 of this exhibit? On page 3, what did KK say?
She says, just tried you back.
And then, are those on December 28th?
Yes.
And then the next day, on December 29th, what does she send you?
She said, hey there. Just wanted to check in on you.
Between those 2 last text messages on this page, did you speak with KK over the phone?
I did.
What do you remember from that conversation with KK?
I remember that she was like, okay, I understand. Don't worry. Nothing is going to happen with these tapes. And I asked her if she could please find the phones and just put them somewhere where they weren't reachable. And if she could just help me hide it. And she said, okay, don't worry. He is not going to do anything like that. And why don't you guys just give each other space? Just give each other space and...
I'm sorry, what phones did you ask KK to hide from Sean?
The phones where my tapes were on.
And did KK agree to do that?
Yes.
And then, at the end of that conversation, what did KK suggest you and Sean should do?
Just give each other space.
Did she say why?
She said, I always tell him all the time to just give these things space. Otherwise, we end up in a situation like we're in now.
What did you understand she was referring to when she said, a situation like we're in now?
A lawsuit.
Whose lawsuit?
Cassie's lawsuit.
Later that same month, in March of 2024, did you learn that search warrants were executed at Sean's homes?
Yes.
Who, if anyone, came to your home on the day you learned about those searches?
HSI.
Did you talk with HSI that day?
No.
How did you know they came to your house?
On my Ring camera. And they also left a card.
And did you see that card?
Yes.
What did you do after seeing that card from HSI?
I called Sean's. I called Sean.
Did Sean pick up?
No.
So what did you do next?
I called Fahim.
Who is Fahim?
Sean's security.
What did you tell Fahim?
I said that agents were at my home and they left a card. And he said, okay. I'm going to get you to Sean's lawyer.
And without telling me what you said, did you end up talking with Sean's lawyer?
Yes.
Eventually, did you get your own lawyer after those searches?
Yes.
Who paid for that lawyer?
Sean.
For about how long did you have that lawyer?
Not very long.
And did you get a new lawyer?
Yes.
And who paid for that lawyer?
Sean.
Do you still have that same lawyer today?
Yes.
Who was paying for that lawyer the entire time you have had that lawyer?
Sean.
Focusing still on 2024, did you see Cabral in person at all in 2024?
No.
Did you speak with Cabral over the phone in 2024?
Yes.
Was that before or after the searches at Sean's homes?
I think it was after.
What happened when you spoke with Cabral on the phone after the 2024 searches?
I just remember that Cabral called me and said that he had a tape and that he was planning to release it bit by bit on the dark web.
What tape did you understand Cabral had?
Cabral said that he had a 35-minute tape of me and him having sex at one of these nights.
What did Cabral say about how he got that video?
I asked him, how did you get this video? And what am I hearing here? And he said that Sean had picked up his phone instead of his own phone and started recording with Cabral's phone just intimate moments between us.
How did you respond when Cabral told you that he was going to release this video?
My heart was beating out of my chest, and I couldn't believe what he was saying to me, and I just tried to remain calm. And the next thing I thought to say was, what do you want for this tape?
What did Cabral say?
He said he wanted $10,000 for it.
What happened next?
I said, okay, I'll try to make that happen for you. And that I would call him back and not to do anything.
After that call, what did you do next?
I called Sean.
What did you tell Sean?
I told Sean that Cabral just tried to extort me.
How did Sean respond?
I was crying and he was super upset and he just couldn't believe it himself. That this guy just tried to extort us and blackmail us and said that we should get the legal team on it.
I don't want you to tell me about any conversations you had with lawyers. Okay, Jane?
Yes.
Did you end up sending money to Cabral?
No.
Did you end up speaking with Cabral again?
Yes.
Or communicating with him again over the phone?
Yes.
What did you tell Cabral?
I told him that I now have legal representation, and what he tried to do with that tape was considered sextortion and blackmail, and that I would not be having further communications with him.
After you told Cabral that you would not be having further communications with him, did you receive any other messages about this video?
Yes.
And without saying the name, generally, what was the message from?
Generally a really big media company.
And what did the media company say to you when they contacted you?
They said that they just bought the tape, and then they were about to publish it, and do I have any comment?
How did you react?
I fainted, and I called my lawyer.
Don't tell me about your conversations with your lawyer. Did you talk with Sean about this at some point?
Yes.
How did Sean react?
He just wanted to get everybody on board. We just needed to figure out how to trump the situation.
Without telling me the substance of any conversations with your lawyers, did you talk to your lawyer after having those communications with the media company?
Yes.
Ultimately, did the company release the video?
No.
What do you remember happening on that trip to Miami in May of 2024?
I remember on this trip, this was when the CNN video came out.
What do you mean by the CNN video?
I mean that the video regarding the hotel incident with Sean and Cassie had been broadcasted.
And that happened while you were in Miami with Sean?
Yes.
How did you first learn about this video?
I remember we were sleeping, and one of his sons knocked on the door and said that something happened. And then I was just by myself. I went downstairs, and I could see that everybody was speaking amongst each other, and I sat down. I went on my phone, and then I saw the video.
What did you see on the video?
I saw Sean assaulting Cassie in a hotel lobby.
Where were you physically when you saw that video?
I was physically just at table. I was about to eat breakfast, but I lost my appetite.
In what residence were you?
I was at 2-star.
What do you remember happening the day that you saw that video of Sean assaulting Cassie?
Just remember, it was just a very eerie day. I just remember that Sean was just huddled with his team and his family, just away. And I was primarily just alone during that day, and I was just giving everybody space.
So right after you watched the video, were you able to speak with Sean right away, or were you by yourself for a bit?
I was by myself.
And who was Sean with for most of that day?
Family and friends?
At some point, did you speak with Sean?
Yes.
What happened?
I remember him kind of inviting me to this little huddle later on this evening.
Where was this?
In the backyard.
And who was in this huddle?
Just his sons, his writer, and some friends.
What do you remember from that huddle after you were invited into it?
I just remember that they were just trying to come up with some sort of sincere apology post or something regarding the video.
At any point, did you hear Sean deny that he was the person depicted in that video assaulting Cassie?
No.
At some point, were you able to talk with Sean alone about that video?
At some point.
Later that same day or no?
No.
Why not?
He was just quiet about it. We were just quiet.
What do you remember from the next day?
The next day, I remember he showed me kind of like a final draft of what he would say that day publicly.
What do you mean a final draft?
I guess this was a letter that they had been trying to finalize, and this was possibly the final draft of what he would say.
And where did you understand Sean was going to say the things in this draft?
I understood that he was probably going to post it on social media.
Did you read the draft?
A little bit, yes.
What do you remember from what you read?
I remember that he addressed her by name.
Who?
Cassie.
In the draft you saw?
Yes.
What else do you remember?
I remember that I felt that it was more heartfelt, and I thought it was a good enough apologetic letter, given the circumstances.
Did you and Sean talk about what you saw in that video?
No.
At some point later, did you ever talk with Sean about what happened in that video?
Yes.
Once or more than once?
Maybe more than once.
What do you remember Sean telling you about what happened in that video?
Objection as to time.
Vague as to time?
As to time. Vagueness as to when.
Ms. Comey.
Jane, when did Sean talk to you about what happened in that video?
I would say around June or July.
Of 2024?
Yes.
And what did Sean tell you?
He said that that was the only time that he had physical violence like that.
That was the only time that who had physical violence?
That Sean and Cassie had physical violence like that.
So he told you that there was no other violence in the relationship?
He said that she was a hitter and that she would hit.
He said that who would hit?
Cassie.
What did he say about whether he would hit her?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did he say whether he would hit her?
I think so, yes.
What did he say about that?
I can't recall.
Going back to the day after the CNN video came out, when Sean showed you the final draft, did you give him any feedback on that final draft?
I just said that that it was good and that it was heartfelt, given the circumstances.
Jane, can you tell us how the argument between you and Sean started about 30 minutes after that video?
I started confronting Sean about who he was with on his family trip, and
His family trip to Utah that he'd just come back from?
yes,
What were you confronting him about?
I was making an assumption that he was with another woman, and it just had really angered me, I think, at this point in our relationship. I just was bottling up a lot of resentment and anger towards him.
So what did you say to Sean?
I said, "You're a pedophile."
Was the woman he was with, that you believed he was with in Utah, an adult?
Yes.
Did you believe and understand that she was over the age of 18?
Yes.
Why did you say he was a pedophile then?
Because I felt that he was about, 25, 27 years her senior, and that relationship just always rubbed me the wrong way.
Is that a woman who was younger than you,
Yes.
but still over the age of 18?
Yes.
What else did you say to Sean?
I just remember calling him a pedophile. I said, if a girl can't buy her own drinks, what makes you attracted to her?
Why did you say, if a girl can't buy her own drinks?
Because I believed when they started that she was younger than 21.
But over 18?
Yes,
What was your tone of voice when you were starting this argument with Sean?
I think it was getting heightened.
Were you angry?
Yes.
And as you were getting angry, what happened next?
He bent over and I pushed his head on the counter.
When you say, he bent over, where were you and Sean during this argument?
We were sitting on the counter, kitchen counter.
Were you sitting at those tools we saw in one of those photographs earlier?
Yes.
And you said Sean was bending over. What do you mean by that?
Like he was about to tie his shoe.
As he bent over, what did you do?
I pushed his head on the marble.
How hard did you push his head into the marble?
I gave it a good shot.
After you pushed his head into the marble, at any point that night or any later day, did you see any marks or injuries on his head where it had hit the marble?
No.
What happened after you pushed his head into the marble?
I just remember that I went to the master bedroom.
Jane, before you went to the master bedroom,
Before that, I started throwing candles everywhere. I started taking all the candles and started throwing it. I started taking all the glass and I started throwing it.
why were you doing that?
I was angry with him.
Why were you angry?
It was a built-up mix of everything that I was angry and hated him for it in the moment.
What were you saying to him as you were throwing these things?
I said, I hate you. I just kept saying that I hated him.
Did any of the glass hit Sean as far as you could see?
I remember a lot of wax went on Sean, but I don't remember striking him with the glass directly.
When you say wax went on him, do you mean wax went on his clothing?
Yes.
What did Sean say in response as you were throwing things at him?
I can't recall, but I think he was probably cursing and calling me crazy.
Do you remember his tone of voice?
Angry.
At some point, did you try to leave that living and kitchen area?
Yes.
Why did you try to leave?
Because I knew that things were going to escalate, so I just wanted to lock myself away.
Where did you go to lock yourself away?
In the master bedroom.
Now, at that point before you locked yourself away, had Sean touched you at all?
Not yet.
And at that point, what had Sean said to you that made you feel like things were escalating?
I just remember he was just calling me crazy and that I put my hands on him and I just wanted to close the door behind me and I was like, just leave, just leave, just leave.
Who were you saying just leave to?
Sean.
After you locked your closet door, what happened next?
He kicked it down.
Who?
Sean.
Where did you go next?
I went all the way to the hallway area and I was about to leave through the front door.
And what happened as you were about to leave through the front door?
Sean kicked me from the back of my thigh and then I fell down on my butt. And then he picked me up in a chokehold and choked me.